They came in silence, their ships gliding through Earth's atmosphere like leaves on a breeze. No booming engines, no shockwaves, no threats. They arrived over cities, deserts, and oceans, their smooth silver vessels casting shimmering reflections on skyscrapers and waves alike. People looked up with awe and uncertainty, but the fear that might have gripped past generations did not fully bloom. These aliens, calling themselves the Virinari, broadcast peaceful intentions. Their holographic ambassadors appeared in the skies, tall beings with opalescent skin and wide, calming eyes that seemed to radiate compassion. "We come in peace," the message repeated, translated into every known language. "We seek no conflict, only to share what we have. We are farmers of the stars." They offered wondrous gifts: clean energy sources that produced no waste, nanotechnology that could regenerate damaged ecosystems, and medical advances that cured diseases long thought incurable. Within weeks, cities once plagued by pollution were breathing again. Cancer, diabetes, even genetic disorders were eliminated in trial treatments under Virinari guidance. Food shortages vanished as the aliens cultivated crops that grew in hours and needed no soil. People knelt before the Virinari in reverence, celebrating them as saviors, messengers of some interstellar divine. Governments crumbled beneath the weight of public worship, and the aliens moved in, not as conquerors, but as partners. They built harmony centers in every country, hubs where humans and Virinari worked together, exchanging ideas and growing closer. Among the thousands welcomed into the harmony centers was Dr. Elena Ryker, a former geneticist who had lost her position after exposing corruption in her pharmaceutical firm. Disillusioned and wary, she was slow to trust the aliens, but intrigued by the scientific marvels they brought. She joined the Harmony Center in Toronto, where her skill with gene editing earned her a spot in the Virinari's Biocooperative Research Unit. At first, her work felt like a dream. The technology was far beyond human understanding, but the Virinari shared freely, teaching by example, showing her how to correct genetic flaws with nothing more than guided thought and ambient light. She saw children walk again, blind men see, aging reversed at the cellular level. Yet behind the miracles, Elena began to sense patterns. The aliens were especially interested in human DNA. Every test, every treatment, no matter the disease or condition, began with a detailed mapping of the patient's genome. At first, this seemed reasonable, but then came inconsistencies, files missing, data being routed to closed systems, samples vanishing from labs. Her suspicions were vague at first, easy to ignore. She didn't want to become paranoid. But the turning point came during a routine audit. Elena accessed a hidden partition in the lab's mainframe, one not meant for human scientists. It held terabytes of encrypted human genomic data, with notes in a Virinari dialect she'd never seen before. She copied the data and took it home, running a translation algorithm she had built in secret. What she found chilled her to the core. The Virinari weren't studying humans to help them. They were cataloging the most viable genetic traits for extraction. Notes referenced muscle fiber density optimal for augmented reflex, neural pathways suitable for telepathic grafting, and genetic immunity to atmospheric variants. The pieces fit together like razor-edged puzzle pieces. They weren't peaceful farmers. They were harvesters, not of Earth's land, but of its people. She dug deeper and found archived communications between Virinari High Command and their mothership. Earth was a recruitment ground, an organic supply depot for a galactic army being assembled to fight in a war light years away. A war humans had no knowledge of, no stake in, and no choice to avoid. Elena couldn't sleep that night. She watched the stars with bitter resentment, knowing that humanity was being groomed like livestock, told they were special and cherished while being quietly disassembled. She tried to report her findings, but by then, the world had grown too enamored of the Virinari. Politicians and leaders had grown wealthy in trade with the aliens. News channels played soft-focus pieces on Virins and humans, our bright future together. Anyone who raised a voice against them was branded a reactionary, a xenophobe. She needed allies. Through an encrypted underground forum of scientists who had been rejected or silenced by the mainstream, Elena contacted others. Some had also noticed strange patterns. Children who had gone missing after being treated at Harmony centers, new diseases quietly springing up in populations with high Virinari contact. Together, they formed a resistance, a scattered, desperate network of skeptics, hackers, ex-military strategists, and doctors who still believed truth mattered. They called themselves the Lucent Order. It was during one of their first raids, on a Harmony center in Berlin, that the resistance confirmed the worst. Hidden beneath the building was a cloning facility, and inside it, tanks filled with hybrid beings. Humanoid figures with human musculature, but with Virinari neural implants and bone structures designed for endurance and speed. Test subjects were suspended in nutrient gel, lifeless but growing. Elena stared at one in horror. It had her eyes. They were already harvesting the Resistance's own DNA. The Lucent Order's activities had been anticipated. The Virinari had been collecting samples long before the aliens had even landed, quietly seeding Earth with disguised probes decades ago. The Resistance stole what data they could and destroyed the lab, but the victory was hollow. The Virinari responded with dismay publicly, blaming a fringe terrorist group for the violence. But behind closed doors, they tightened security. Harmony centers became off-limits to most humans. Surveillance drones increased. Dissidents were arrested, accused of sabotage, and disappeared. The Resistance went underground. Elena moved constantly, changing names and faces with black market biomods. She became the ghost in the network, leaking proof to the public. Photos of the hybrid tanks, intercepted plans for planetary genome harvests, confessions extracted from alien translators. But the media ignored her. Governments refused to act. People didn't want to believe their saviors were butchers in disguise. Only when the sky darkened with motherships did belief begin to crack. The Virinari announced that their next phase of unification was beginning. They broadcast messages of peace even as they deployed drones that floated over cities, scanning the population, extracting DNA samples via invisible beams. Those flagged as desirable candidates began vanishing from their homes, their jobs, their schools. One moment they were there, the next gone. Panic erupted. Elena and the Lucent Order launched their final plan: to infiltrate the main Virinari vessel and transmit a signal that would sever the connection between the motherships and the genetic harvesting systems. It was a suicide mission. No one had ever entered a Virinari ship and lived to tell about it. But Elena volunteered. It was her data that had first revealed the truth. Her guilt burned like a brand. She was smuggled aboard a research shuttle docked at the Harmony Center in Shanghai. Disguised as a technician, she made her way through long corridors pulsing with pale blue light. The air smelled like ozone and crushed flowers. The Virinari were elegant, tireless, and eerily polite. They passed her without suspicion. In the vessel's core, she found what she was looking for, the Nexus Array. It was a living machine, a semi-sentient bioorganism connected to every satellite, Harmony Center, and drone on Earth. This was the brain of the operation. She uploaded a virus created by the Lucent Order's top coder, an AI modeled after the chaotic structure of human intuition. It confused the Nexus. The alien mind couldn't process a logic, contradiction, or emotion. The virus made it see every human as simultaneously compatible and incompatible, desirable and toxic. The harvesting stopped, but the Virinari realized what had happened. Alarms blared, though the sound was more like wind howling through metal reeds. Elena ran, but they were too fast. She was cornered in a cryo chamber, dozens of Virinari advancing with calm precision. She stood her ground. "I know what you are," she said, voice steady. "And now so does Earth." They killed her with a whisper, some frequency that shattered thought, but not before the virus completed its transmission. Across the planet, Harmony centers shut down. Drones collapsed midair. Motherships, now blind, began to withdraw. Humanity rose. The truth, undeniable at last, united fractured nations. People who had once worshipped the Virinari now took up arms against them. The resistance swelled into an army, and their war cry bore Elena's name. It would take years to drive the aliens away entirely, and longer still to reclaim the stolen. But in the end, Earth remembered not just the miracles the Virinari had brought, but the monstrous cost they had hidden beneath their promises. And they remembered the woman who had seen through it all. Elena Ryker became more than a scientist. She became the symbol of resistance, a name written in fire across history. She had uncovered the truth, and with it, humanity had reclaimed its soul.